Good evening. Good evening. I'll ask all of you to begin to find your seats. Find your seats, and we'll start to get the evening going. So, all right. It's good to see you.
Likewise, I finally made it.
Sure.
Huh?
Is that yours?
Yes.
Great. I'm down over there. So I'd like to welcome all of you this evening. Good evening. You know, this is one of those nights where I feel like I'm an opera singer, trying to get the microphone right. This is one of those nights where things are just a little off. And I think it all has to do with Halloween. So I didn't check to see if the moon was like in full phase or, half moon or whatever it is. But somehow, on a night like this, when we are really clicking, you all have salads at your table. And so, we don't even have Halloween candy there yet. So I'm going to ask you to kind of bear with me as we go through that. Yeah, here comes some of the salads. Yay. So, just a couple of housekeeping things. When we're at meetings like this, we always worry about safety. So, who can point out the exit signs? All right, but everyone's pointing at the same one. There's one back there too. And then we all know where those places are when you have those internal urges, and you don't have to let anyone know where you're going, but if you don't come back, we'll search for you. And one other thing is one of the people who came up to me tonight and said it had been a long time since she had been at one of our meetings, and it felt like coming home. And that, to me, is a very important part to being part of a professional organization. Because that professional organization is not only doing a great job, it's not only being at best practice, but it's having people around that you can really rely on and collaborate with and feel supported by, both professionally and emotionally. And so that leads me into the type of culture we have here. This is a place where we work together over the long term. We build the relationships over the long term. And we build partnerships with vendors and internals and people in transition over the long term. And so that's something I want you to keep in mind, and because it's a very important partnership and something that really helps the support of our organization. As all of you know and can see, we've got James over here from Discover Video who simulcasts our programs. So he'll be focused on our speaker for tonight, Adam, and he'll be staying focused here. Just understand that when you answered her question, you are not the only one who will hear the answer in this room. So to all our friends and colleagues who are dialing in and clicking in as we speak, I want to welcome you and let everybody know that tonight's being recorded. Also, we'll take some pictures over the course of the evening. If you have any issues with your picture being taken, your hair's not right or whatever it may be, you're in the FBI, program to protect us from those people who need to be protected from, just let us know. And if you don't like your picture on the website, because we've just started to put pictures on the website, let us know. We'll take your picture down, because if you don't look good, you don't feel good. And so that's all part of it. So thank you for coming tonight. We've got great things going on in the chapter. I just came back from the National Chapter Leaders Conference, and I have to tell you, what we're doing here is equal to many of the things that are going on throughout the United States, and there's a lot of great things going on. One last thing just to keep in mind, ASTD is changing its name, going from American Society of Training and Development to the Association of Talent Development, changing our colors, changing our name, and it's all about being ready to move into the future. So, on that note, let me turn it over to Mary Beth.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Beth Schroeder, and I and Laura McNerney share the responsibility for membership. And so we like to, at our meetings, welcome and ask to introduce themselves our new members so that we can reach out to them while we're here and make them feel welcome. So are there any new members with us here tonight? Wonderful, wonderful. Well, ladies first, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Sherry Winter. I'm with Cavio Learning. We're a learning and performance consulting group based out of Chicago, but I'm up in Mystic, Connecticut.
Wonderful. Thank you. Welcome. Yes, sir.
I actually don't feel like a new member since I've been coming here, but my name's John Widener. I'm managing partner with Cornell Global. We're a OD, executive coaching, and executive search firm.
Thank you. All right. Any other new members? All right. Well, I'll just keep moving it right along. I'd like to introduce Martha Cramer, who will talk about some of the resources that we have for you here tonight. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to add my welcome. I'm walking back here because this is where the resource table is. There are several pieces of information you can find on the resource table. If you have a service or an article or a product that you're interested in letting people know about, you are welcome to bring your materials and put them on the table. We please ask that at the end of the evening you retrieve anything that's left over from that. Also on the table is information about ASTD and ASTD National. So Ross, for example, talked about us changing over and the exciting changes that brings forward. So we have some information about that here. That's the main thing. We have some information about Power membership, which is when you're a local member as well as a national member. And we have some information about being certified CLP. So please feel free to come take a look. I also wanted to take a moment to mention or to recognize our two communities of practice. So those are groups that are focused on a particular topic within our field. So we're very excited to actually offer two. The first is on human capital analytics, and that is run by Rich Montanaro. Rich, would you mind just kind of waving or shaking your hand? Or yes, he definitely deserves. So he definitely deserves applause. And we do want to mention that the next meeting of that COP is October 30th at 6 o'clock at the Westport Library. And there is not a charge for participation in the communities of practice. We're very excited to mention that we're launching a second community of practice that's focused on coaching. And Karen Kirkner, Karen, if you wouldn't mind standing up. Right. So if you're interested in that, please talk to Karen. She's had a really terrific response. And the initial meeting of that is going to be October 28th at 9 o'clock in the morning. Is that right, Karen? 9 a.m.?
Correct. 9 to 10:30 at the
Westport
Westport Library.
Library. Great. So,
Email me if you want to come, and I have handouts.
That's great. Thank you. So that was everything I wanted to say. Were there any questions about anything that we talked about? So then I'm very happy to turn this over to Elena.
Hi, everyone. Yay! So I'm the sponsorship director for the chapter, and my responsibility is to attract partners, sponsors, vendors to come and talk to us about their products and services that will help us learn about what's new out there and exciting. So we have some opportunities for the 2015 year, so if anyone is interested to present a vendor sponsor suggestion to me, please contact me. The information's on the website, or you can reach me here at the meeting tonight. We also have an opportunity for November in our networking event. We'll be doing a vendor showcase. So we have about 10 vendors that we're trying to corral to participate. We have a few spots open, and I'd like to just put a plug in to see if anyone has some interest or knows of anyone that would be available to participate. It's a great opportunity to get some specific showcasing within our chapter. We'll be doing our usual announcements, which go out to about 1,000 people, members and non-members wide. So it's some great exposure for vendor opportunities. And also tonight we have Rose Fast from Fast Forward Consulting, who's going to be doing our sponsorship tonight. We have a book signing that will happen in the back of the room at the vendor table. So Rose's book is back there. So I'd like to welcome Rose Fast from Fast Forward Consulting. Thanks, Rose.
So while everybody's munching on salad, I spent about 23 years at Xerox Corporation, and in my last few years, I was the Chief Transformation Officer under Ann Mulcahy. And what I thought was going to be a year gig turned into my life-changing, life-defining moment and the career that I now have. I started a consulting firm 13 years ago with a British engineer from Gartner. The name of it is Fast Forward Consulting Group. And as I often say, my night job became my day job. So I only have 5 minutes, and I'm conscious of that. So I want to share a little bit about the chocolate conversation and what we're doing with the chocolate conversation at Fast Forward and how we're applying it. One of our largest accounts is Verizon Global. And we are working with the C-suite all the way through the company and are involved currently in what they're calling a cultural inventory. It's very interesting what's going on in companies today, because what goes around comes around, right? It all comes back. And companies are realizing that they've exhausted the tangibles. And basically, we've done all the technology stuff we can do. We've done all the process stuff we can do. We got to get to our talent. Because people are the problem right now. We need people to feel good about the brand. We need people to feel great about the work they do. So I'm going to take you back a little bit so I can introduce the chocolate conversation and how that plays a part in all of this. 100 years ago, when I graduated from college, I was invited to a BYOC, Bring Your Own Chocolate Party. And for the most part, people think of me as an extrovert, but I'm not really. And when I go to parties, I basically don't love them, particularly if they're huge. And I'm never one to stand there with a drink in her hand trying to think of something clever to say. So I was excited when I got invited to this because I thought, chocolate, I can get into that. It's very exciting. I like chocolate. It won't be tedious. So I made my killer chocolate cake. I arrive at this party thinking that I will be one of the hits of the party. And I was quite shocked to see this 8-foot-long table just covered with every conceivable confection that you could possibly think of, some of which I could not pronounce. And there were a lot of chocolate snobs there. And I was standing next to one woman in particular who was pin thin, the ones you love. And she was like, I don't ever eat chocolate unless it has a certain percentage of cacao. And if I'm going to do it, it's going to be savored. And oh, by the way, and I'm like rolling my eyes, and this guy's standing next to me, and he's like, if I'm in the mood for chocolate, a Snickers will do. And it was then that I realized we were having a chocolate conversation. And years later, I'm sitting in an all-company meeting. The CEO is coming out with the strategy, which is pretty complex, and everybody is taking it in, and he's sharing a worldview, and people are all walking away from this meeting, and they're all interpreting it quite differently. And so when everybody got back to their prospective BUs, functions, whatever they were doing, they started to translate what they thought was the direction that we were going in, much to the dismay of the CEO, who said, why don't they get it? You ever heard that? Why don't they get it? And I realized in that moment, we're having a chocolate conversation. And years later, I sat down to write about it. because there are 3 layers to a chocolate conversation. One of them is the worldview layer, which is that high-level conversation that we all sit and listen to, 30,000 feet, and everybody walks away and says, okay, so that's the picture you had in your mind. Then there's the standard that people associate with that worldview, and that's the expectation that they have of how that thing plays out in real life. And then the 3rd layer is the concern. Because now I'm sitting around and I've got Shirley here who says, well, gee, that isn't what I had in mind. So I'd like to take 2 minutes and play a little game with you, and then I'm going to get off because you give me the high sign. I'm going to say the word chocolate, and you tell me the first thing that comes into your mind when you heard the word chocolate. And don't be clever, just mood, confection, anything you want to say. So who would like to volunteer? Go ahead. Pardon me?
Milk.
Milk. So this woman is very definitive. She wants milk chocolate truffles. You're a girl after my own heart. Addiction. Yes, darling. Godiva. Okay. Last one. Caramel. Oh my God. So now I'm standing in front of a group of people and I've got a strategy around chocolate, and I've gone through this whole high-level conversation about how we're going to have chocolate. And one person is standing there saying, but I expected milk. And you gave me a dark piece of Godiva, and you gave me caramel, and you caused me to get addicted. I'm not happy. Okay? And this is what often happens in a chocolate conversation. And as simple a concept as chocolate, and everybody had a different perspective here when I use that word, just think of what it's like when we put a complex strategy out there. Or when they say, can you please bring me your talent development strategy? Your succession planning strategy. Along with that, could you please tell me how we're going to retain the talent that we want to keep here and attract what we're looking for? So these are the kinds of things that add up to what I call chocolate conversations. And so there's 3 ways that I have looked at avoiding a chocolate conversation. And one is be clear about what your worldview is. What is it? How does it play out? Is it just the image in your head, or can you really articulate what that means? And companies today have great strategies. People are executing. They're just not executing the strategy, so they don't understand it. The standard. What is my standard? If I'm going to have milk and it's going to have caramel in it, and I can promise you you will be addicted, I need to tell you that. I need to tell you that. And lastly, concerns. What are they? Whose are we addressing? So we believe in a bottoms-up approach at Fast Forward, which is stop starting with a worldview and start with the concern. What's the customer concern? What's the employee concern? Once we understand that, we can establish a standard that will address that concern, and then we can evolve to a shared worldview. I will end here. Steve Jobs, who we've often heard way too much about, did understand something that nobody understood. He went after the implicit, not spoken needs of a customer, and he changed the standard for an industry and reshaped people's worldview. And how did he do it? Did you know you needed 1,000 songs in your pocket? Did you think you couldn't leave your house without an iPad? But he started bottoms up by addressing a concern that was not explicit, but he knew if he addressed that, he would change people's standards and reframe a worldview. So it works offensively and it works defensively. Thank you so much for your time.
So thank you very much. The books will be in the back of the room, and hopefully Rose will be able to stay for the whole meeting and do some signing in the back. Where is Deb Jackson? Okay.
Thanks, Elena. Thank you. Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Debbie Jackson, and I co-chair programs with Sissy McKee. There she is. Okay. I'm so pleased tonight. So here we are to our program. Tonight to have the chance to introduce Adam Weisblatt, the learning technology leader at Nielsen. He's a true standout in the learning technology field. He has a great understanding of our program and appreciation of what it truly takes to use social media, mobile, and gamification tools to increase learner engagement and impact business results. You may have heard him speak at our recent, well over a year ago, chapter meeting when he co-presented on social media platforms known as Socialcast. We're pleased to bring him back tonight as center stage. He's an e-learning designer, instructor, and technology strategist, having implemented an LMS for 170,000 learners across 72 countries for a large pharmaceutical firm. Adam promotes business-driven learner-centric approach to using learning technology, and he is also the author of 2 blogs, Creating Understanding and Heretics Toolbox. He's an active with the online community, online learning community, and at the end of this month, he's presenting at DevLearn in Vegas on Big Bag Data: How to Clean Up the Mess. He has an undergrad degree in fine arts with specialty in cartooning and sculpture from the School of Visual Arts in New York City. He's an artist at heart, and the use of the abstract thinking that he's learned in art school, he applies to technology and business. Please join me in welcoming Adam Weisblatt. Do you want to use this? Do you want me to get you up?
This is fine. Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Good, good. I think I'll be able to multitask. I'm not sure. Let's see. All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate speaking at the chapter, and good to see a lot of familiar faces. I'm going to present, I think maybe I picked the right topic, huh? Yeah, the people seem very excited. I picked these topics because people keep coming to me with these topics. Adam, what have you done with this? How do we get started with this? Why can't we keep getting this moving along? And so I figured, well, let's figure out what's at the root cause of these topics. Why did they keep persisting? And why do people get so concerned about them? So before I do that, though, I want to make a public service message. There's this condition that has been afflicting many people in the L&D community, and it's something that's gone unspoken about, and I want to address it. It is called, going the wrong direction on your thing. It's called locked eye roll syndrome. Has anyone experienced this before? Yeah, see, apparently your mother was right. Your eyes can get stuck like that. So it's very important, I think, to have exercises to prevent this locked eye roll syndrome. And I want everyone to take their fingers and put them just under their eyebrows, okay, and hold it there. Make sure that you don't roll your eyes as I say very eye-rolling type of stuff. Ready? You holding on? Okay, you can do it. We need to get into social learning. Hold your eyes. Don't let them roll. We need our learning to be mobile ready. Come on, don't let anything happen. You can do it. We need to use gamification. Oh, did you hold your eyes up? Okay, good. I'm proud of you. You got to practice. So apparently, eye rolling is a evolved trait that human beings learn to prevent, to protect themselves against getting too excited about overhyped technology. Let's see. Because don't anyone ever forget the tragedy of Second Life. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Second Life was the 3D world that was going to transform learning forever. I'm not dead yet. But obviously it didn't. And yet, these 3 topics keep coming up, and they don't die. They don't go away. We can roll our eyes all we want, but somehow people keep asking us about them. And it's been a while. But people have been talking about this for quite a few years. And I think that it's important to know that behind these buzzwords are actual needs that our customers have that we need to address. And so what I want to do is I want to go through each of the buzzwords, figure out what's behind them, and then figure out how we can start introducing some elements of them into our learning, not trying to take over the whole world, just to get at those needs our customers have. So these three things seem to cause what I call check the box syndrome, right? Have you guys sat at a leadership meeting and the head mucky muck says, "Oh yeah, we're doing social. One of our interns tweeted about a class." "Oh yeah," check the box. "Oh yeah, we're doing mobile. We took some e-learning and made it really small." "Oh yeah, we're doing gamification. We put a Jeopardy quiz at the end of our course." So let's start with right? You went out on the hunt, you came back, and you got everybody around the fire, you had the cave painting, and you made this presentation.
Does it talk now?
There we go. See, I was pacing. I was using my hands when I was talking. Is this better? Okay, sorry about that. All right, extra points for guessing the social media tools. It starts with the easy ones. Facebook, there you go. Next one. Okay, this is harder. Yammer, there you go. Now, anybody? This is Coursera. Okay, now interesting, I put Coursera up here because, as a Mooc, don't roll your eyes. Come on, people, you got to be vigilant. As a Mooc, which is a massive open online course, Coursera is, fairly popular. But basically, Moocs are just social media learning on steroids, and for a very, very long time. But that's why I included it. Now, last time I was here, I spoke about Socialcast, there we go. Instagram, Pinterest, Reddit, Snapchat. Ooh, somebody's got kids. YouTube. Gets harder. Even I don't know about these. I had to have my kids tell me about them. Kick. Just Kick, I think. Yeah. Vine. Have people used Vine? Vine is to video what Twitter is to words. And Uvu, and then Tumblr. Okay. So people are already using the tools. Let's try to meet our learners where they're at. Okay, now let's go into the mobile learning and how there's this inner need that's coming from that people are asking for. How many people have mobile devices in their pockets? Everybody in the room except for me. I left my phone home. Okay, so let's talk about where learning happens and where learning needs to happen. Where do you need to learn something? When you're sitting in a classroom, is that the time that you actually needed to learn? No, that's the time that you're sitting in the classroom eating your Brontosaurus burger. But it's a great way to get away from work to be able to learn. But that's not where you needed the learning. How about your office? Yes, sometimes. All the time? No, sometimes you're not at your office and you still need to learn. You're on the road and you're selling products. You need to know about the latest changes in the products. So we've got this device that gives us in our pocket that gives us access to the whole world's worth of human knowledge. We're using it to look at videos of cats. But it's there for us to learn from. And people are saying, well, I learn from it all the time. Why can't I learn from it at work? Right? How many people use their device when they need to know how to fix something in the house? Right? So that's the thing. People use YouTube and Wikipedia. So we're not competing against, this isn't competing against e-learning. It's competing against YouTube, Wikipedia, and Google. And if that Brontosaurus or whatever animal I've got coming out, if the beast is coming after you, that's when you need the learning. So these are all the different ways that we get information from our device. I can't believe I left it home because it's so much easier to hold it and talk about it. But I'll point to my guy here. These devices are almost like sentient little creatures themselves. They have senses like sight and sound and location and balance. And it's expanding. So it's not just your phone. It's your my caveman has Google glasses on, if you can see. And he's got a little Fit watch right here and his iPad. But there's these channels to get to the learner. Okay? Let me just talk quickly about a few of these. Does anybody know what the vestibular sense is? We don't have just 5 senses. We have all sorts of senses. The vestibular sense is in your inner ear.
It's your sense of balance.
It's your sense of balance. It keeps you standing up straight and knowing which is up and which is down. The phone has the same thing. It's called an accelerometer. It knows you can tilt it. We got the video camera, the ability to do texting. And there's also a lot of software that we use in our regular life, like WebEx. WebEx, Adobe Connect. I mixed them up. Sorry. They all have apps, so you can get to people through those apps. Your camera, Bluetooth, email, QR codes. Everyone know what QR codes are? At the end of this presentation, I'll have a QR code for you. If anyone needs help, getting your phone to do it, let me know. Of course, Wikipedia, YouTube, Yammer, RSS. Are people familiar with RSS feeds? Okay. Coursera, searching, podcasts, the phone, Skype, maps, apps, iBooks, PDFs, Ibeacons. Have people heard of Ibeacons? So an iBeacon, see, QR code is nice. You can print it out and put it anywhere, and people can get to a particular website. But an iBeacon is a device that Apple has created that sends out a very small field of information. As you walk past it with your device, it brings up the information for you. So imagine you don't have time to take new hires on a tour of the site, right? You could put these iBeacons out. They can walk through the site and do a self-guided tour. Facebook, Instagram, Vine. Okay, and then the third one I want to talk about, this background need is gamification. Everyone hates that term, and yet it won't go away. Gamification, man. The reason that we needed another term is because we can't make all of our learning programs into games. There's no time, budget, or attention span to do that. But that doesn't mean we can't take the elements of games, the dynamics of them, and put them into our learning. That's what gamification is. We've got to come up with a better term. So when you're doing learning and you're creating your e-learning program and you're thinking, wow, I hope I win an award for this great program I'm doing, and I hope I beat out all the other e-learning designers, they're not your competition. Your competition is Hollywood, right? Disney World, and the video game industry, which is billions and billions of dollars, and people are learning every day. They're learning how to get Mario across the lava, but they're learning. And that's who you're competing against. So you need to get more engaging. You'll never be able to compete on a production level quality with Hollywood, but you can add these gamification elements. And I believe that that's why people keep asking for this. They want to get people engaged. So there's a lot of different elements that are part of that. And, you know, a lot of people, I'm going to work backwards here because everyone talks about badges, and I don't actually get it. I always think, I just keep thinking we don't need no stinking badges, right? But within the context of a program, if several people are doing it together through social media and they can see the badges line up for each person, then there's kind of a game of being able to, ooh, maybe I can get one more badge than the guy down the hall. Leaderboards work the same way. The thing we do when we do social media is we want people to participate. But we get ghost towns, right? We get the tumbleweeds going through because nobody wants to be the first person on the dance floor. So what you do is you set up a leaderboard. Yammer has this set up where you can, where the people who participate the most get to the top of the list. Then you strike that competition nerve that people have. Leveling up is the one I like, which is you're Super Mario, you're trying to get through this new world, you don't know what it is, and you fail. You die, you fail again, you keep failing, you don't find what you're supposed to find, and you fail and fail again until you start finding those little hints, those little tricks to get you to the end where you can actually kill the monster, and you level up. You go to the next phase, and you get all these endorphins because you're proud of yourself for having done it. Why can't we do that in learning? But these are just window dressings, right? These are game elements. But game dynamics is where we really want to go. So one important part of game dynamics is the immediate feedback loop. When you don't do something right in a video game, you die. That's immediate feedback. You don't wait till the end of the game and take a quiz. So getting more of that immediate feedback is something that people who play games, and all the people coming up, you know, who are going to be taking our courses do play games, they're looking for that. The other one is the flow. How many people know about flow? So flow is used in a lot of different contexts, but here in gaming, you want a game that's not so easy that you get bored and not so hard that you get frustrated. So you've got to design your learning in a way that is constantly challenging them just enough to keep them going, to keep them in the flow. Okay, so that's the underlying basis of, I believe, for why people keep asking you about this stuff and why people are interested in it. Now let's talk about what we can do with this. Okay, you've got these tools, you got a hammer, and you're walking around, and what happens when all you have is a hammer? Everything starts looking like a nail, right? So I got my caveman with his hammer and a bunch of nails, but there are screws in there, and hopefully he won't get screwed. He's looking for the right way to use this tool. And I get a little squeamish about this as a technologist, because as a technologist, I believe that you figure out what problem you want to solve first, and then go find the tool. You don't just grab a tool and go start looking for a problem. The problem is, when you have a new tool, you kind of have to do it that way. I just bought a new saw, electric saw. I think I should practice on some projects that are not my key projects, right? And I think that's what we have to do. We have to find things that are applicable to this so we can get used to using these tools. So let me give you some general advice. Start off small. In the L&D field, I feel like we just love those big projects, those projects that are going on and on and on and on. That's where all the glory is. But the people who are running those projects don't want you to use them as a guinea pig for the latest technology trend. So find a small project. Maybe there's a little e-learning that needed to be updated. Maybe there's a need that a more minor stakeholder has that can be done fast. Find those little ones, not just because nobody wants you to be no one wants to be your guinea pig, but also because these three items are about how people do their work and live their lives, right? Mobile, gamification, and social. These are things that they do in their lives anyway. You're trying to fit in with that. And the only way that you can do that is if you get that immediate feedback loop. If you see, okay, I'm going to try this technique. Well, that didn't work. I'm going to try another one. Ooh, people like that. You need to do that, and the only way you can do it is with fast projects. Okay, so let's talk about each of the individual programs and different advice on picking the right program for what you're looking for. So the first one is social learning, and you got to think back to the classroom, right? What do we like? What's the best part of the classroom experience? Anybody? The interaction between the members. What kinds of things do you do in a classroom that really gets that interaction going? What kinds of activities? Discussions? Breakout groups? Ask a question? Case study? Okay, so those are the kinds of things you look for. A case study. A case study is a bunch of people working on a document. Well, the social media tool for working on a document together is called a wiki. Get a wiki, have people work on it, and then they could present it in a virtual class. Discussion groups. You could have a discussion group for your class. Don't have a general one, though. Nobody comes into work and says, oh, I can't wait to join the discussion about that course I took 3 months ago. Have a time constraint. So the instructor at the end of a classroom or virtual classroom says, we're going to have a discussion about this as a follow-up next Friday on Yammer. And that way you have that timed event that people can look forward to. By the way, there's a tool called Intrepid Mooc. Yeah, don't roll your eyes. Come on. It's basically this. It's putting together people in cohorts and letting them use social media to work on the elements of a learning program. Okay, let's talk about mobile learning. So how many people like to watch 3-hour movies on their phone? Nobody? People like getting immediate information on their phone. So what do people usually do with their phone when they're learning? Like if you need to learn something yourself, what are you doing? Somebody search it, look it up. I'm sorry? There's an app for that, right. So I want to know how to, fix a broken toilet. I want to know how to use the company's new expense system. I want to know who played opposite of Gene Wilder in The Frisco Kid. Come on, do you guys have IMDb? Internet Movie Database. I would not survive without it because I go, oh, who was that guy? Okay, extra points for somebody who can answer the question. Who played opposite of Gene Wilder in The Frisco Kid? Not a... No. Harrison Ford. There. Not a very popular movie, I guess. So what you want is information right when people need it. Okay, I love talking about abstract concepts, but nobody was going to want to sit and look at me talking about an abstract concept on their phone. No offense to the people who are watching the telecast. They want to know the information, and then they can drill down to the abstract concepts. In other words, show me how to make a pivot table in Excel, and if I struggle, then I could go down and find out what makes pivot tables work, and I can go down to what are data structures. But I got to start at the immediate task. And that technique is called performance support. Are people familiar with the term? And this triangle basically is what I got from Bob Mosher, who's somebody who's written a lot about that. Okay. Now, gamification. Remember, Mario was going through the world, and he was dying, and he was trying to learn things, and he fought the monster, and he moved up to the next level. That's a cumulative skill. Over the time of the whole game, you get better and better and better at doing these things. If you've got skills like that you need to share, that's one use of gamification, right? Because you're getting people excited about the next thing, which they aren't always excited about. Okay? The next one is dense abstract material, right? We've got our Second Life guy still crawling along the floor because he's bored out of his brains because a lecturer is getting up there and just talking about abstract concepts. I don't know whether people know this, but Ross and I have worked together for 10 years. And for 10 years, we've been basically playing dueling metaphors. We try to out-metaphor each other. And metaphors are a great way to explain an abstract concept. What's a better metaphor than a game itself, right? If you create the game as the metaphor itself, then you've got people playing with the idea, which is an exciting concept. So I'm not going to give you guys specific examples because you can go onto the web and say 10 best examples of social learning concepts, 10 best ideas for mobile or for gamification. What I'm going to talk to you about at the end of we're getting to the end of the presentation, is the hooks. You already have your learning programs, and there's little hooks in it that you can say, oh, hey, let's take a moment and add a piece into here to make this more interesting using one of these technologies. So I already talked about the case study. Getting people to collaborate on it. See, I've got this idea of a micro Mooc, right? Instead of 6 months long, have it 3 days, 4 days long, 1 week long, where you have a virtual classroom. Everybody comes in, the instructor introduces the idea, gives everybody breakout groups. They all go to separate wikis and they work on a case study, and then they come back and discuss what they learned by doing the case study in a virtual classroom. Done. Post-course discussion we talked about. Chatting with an expert. How's your relationship with your SMEs? Don't you wish you could just bottle up your SMEs and make them available? So there are people who do this. At my company, there's someone who's very well respected in a particular field, and he has these chats. Are people familiar with Twitter chats? So Twitter chats are this thing on Twitter. Everyone who's interested in a particular topic agrees that at a particular time of the week, they'll all get together and discuss that topic using a hashtag to mark off all their tweets. So one of them is called LearnChat, LRNCHAT. So Thursday nights at 8 o'clock, 8:30. Thursday nights at 8:30, you go onto Twitter and you type in that hashtag, and all of a sudden you see all these people from all over the world talking about a particular topic around learning. So you could do that in your company, right? And who's the moderator? Your SME. Right? You have this person, and he's very proud. He can, or she's very proud. She can, show everybody how much she knows, and she can learn from all the questions that get asked. And you have it at a specific time so that people are looking forward to it, and it's contained. Okay, gamification, scavenger hunts. That's always a fun thing to do, right? But not scavenger hunts. You can do scavenger hunts in the real world with Ibeacons or QR codes or just objects. But you can also have scavenger hunts online. If you want, if your company has just introduced a new intranet, they've totally redesigned their intranet, but nobody's using it, hide things on the pages and have a scavenger hunt. People get points for how many things they've found on the pages. For mobile, I think that using technology is a good one, to be able to just look up really fast, how do I do X? And you can do this on video, right? So Vimeo is like YouTube. It's got private channels for companies, and the cost is really not much at all. And it automatically resizes for the device, so you don't have to worry about any of that. I talked about Ibeacons, apps. Apps, I think, are where this is going to go. No matter what thing you want to do on the web, you're not going to need programmers too much anymore. There's apps that just create navigation that people can navigate down to the data that you want. Since you're showing people the specific information they need, you don't have to hide it behind a next button. You just get people right to what they need. And then texting. How many people have kids who are teenagers? Yeah, I've got a lot of texting going on. But texting is something that you can use to spread ideas, get people interested in stuff. It doesn't always have to be high tech. So like I said before, all of these tools that people use every day, even on their desktop, are things that they all have apps. So as soon as you use this tool and get that app, hey, you've done mobile, check the box. iBook authoring tools is, I think, really nice because you can create the books and then have them printed as needed, or have people be able to see them on their device. A lot of people put a lot of information on Facebook. Those scavenger hunts can be done with the mapping tools. Vine is a quick way to kind of get people to be very playful with ideas because you only have 6 seconds in order to come up with an idea and share it. Podcasts, that was a buzzword, 10 years ago, and it's still there. People are still using it. And QR codes, I still love those. What I love about QR codes, does everyone know what they are? I think I asked, but what it does is it takes you out of your computer screen, out of your device, out into the world, and connects what's going on your device to what's happening in the world. People have done some really nice things in museums where you do the QR code and then you can see things about the augmented reality about the exhibits in Home Depot. Have you guys seen this on the price tag? Where the little tag on the object, it has a QR code. When you click that, it tells you how to use the thing you're thinking of buying. It's great. So there's other tools like this. There's tools for making games, Game Salad. Prezi is something that people had been interested in a while back, but Prezi has an app. You could zoom it with your fingers, right? Dropbox, so anything you create, any PDF you create, there's always a place to put it now. I talked about Vimeo. And even SharePoint. Can you believe I'm talking about SharePoint? Sherry's happy that I'm talking about SharePoint. I think the reason people poo-poo SharePoint is because they're the ones who put all the junk in there and they can't find it. But SharePoint is not just for documents. It has all of these social tools. It has a wiki. It has a blog. It has discussion groups. Why go out and buy one when it's sitting right there on your desk? Okay, I'm going to wrap up with some more information. But before I do, I've thrown a lot of tools at you and a lot of ideas. And do people have questions? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vimeo is a competitor to YouTube. I think they have some better tools for people who do private channels. But it's basically as a way to store your videos and have it accessible by just who you want it to be accessible by. Right, you can control it. See, I'm like the shoemaker's kids. You know, when I sit down and actually use technology, I'm complete futz. Anybody else? All right, but before I take more questions, let me do three things. First of all, I've got this. Adam, what are you doing to us? We don't have our right glasses on. You've got all this text up here. You've got this big, long conclusion. But don't worry, I've got a QR code. Yay! And that QR code points to a Facebook page that I just set up. Let's see if I can. There we go. Make the page bigger. And the Facebook page has my contact information right here, and it has the resources for this course, for this presentation. So I put up the 10 best app making tools and all the statistics around the growth in gamification and social media, so I didn't have to bore you guys with it. But it's all there, and please reach out to me through that. You know, like the page, that would be nice. And that way you've got the information. So any other questions about what I covered tonight? Yes?
How are you guys using it in Nielsen?
At Nielsen, we're just starting. We did some games for the iPad, and we're using a tool called Xylem. Has anyone heard of this? Xylem is a learning content management system. It makes it so that if you've got 300 courses and they change every 3 months, and it takes you 6 months to redo the course, you're in trouble. Xylem lets you use templates and store all the data, the information in a database, and publish what you need as you need it, and make the changes on the fly. It has a mobile aspect to it called Brave. We're going to use that because our salespeople need to know about all these product changes while they're in the field. Xyleme. Anybody else? Yes.
We spent some time talking about mobile learning, and the only thing I wrote down was performance support. Can you kind of go back and talk about that a little bit?
The performance support part of it?
That's right.
Yeah, so performance support, we've always been doing our learning where you introduce the basic concepts and then you drill down into the specifics. When people are on their device and then need to get that learning now, you flip it. It's the other way around. It's the specifics, and then you can drill down to the concepts. That's pretty much the idea of performance support, having something that people need it having it when they need it, and having it immediate. So there's a lot of resources on it, and I put some resources on the Facebook page because I think that's the best way to focus with mobile. If you go to mobile and just copy what you were doing in the classroom or on the computer screen, it's not going to get the same kind of traction.
Now, can you track some of that when people go into mobile? Will it track automatically into one of your LMSs and that sort of thing? So that if you want to see if someone's really accessing information. Then they can tell you what they're using.
Well, it depends on the LMS. Right, we're going to be upgrading to. We're still with SumTotal, and we're upgrading to the cloud version that has a mobile component to it. But there's other ways to do it. There's the new Tin Can API, XAPI, and that's, I think, really important for performance support because with a learning management system, it's controlling how you access the content. You're going to the learning management system, then opening up the course, taking the quiz, and coming back, and they've controlled everything for you. But there's this e-learning is just is web content, and there's this big source of web content called the internet. It's this really new thing, and people don't want to go to the learning management system and then go to the internet. They want to find the learning, and then they want that tracked back. And the great thing about the Tin Can API is that it's just a JavaScript call. It's just a piece of code that can go in a web page or a mobile app that sends the information back to the database without the learner having to do anything. Does that answer what you're looking for? Yeah. I have seen that where, people put out their, the CEO has a blog, or they're on Yammer, they have, virtual, sessions, town hall sessions. But like Rose said, it's got to be from the bottom up. It's got to be organic, because on social media, we're not used to people pushing things down to us through social media. Facebook changes one little line in their policy, in their privacy policy, and everyone goes nuts. But I have seen it done. I've seen the culture happen organically. Last time I was here, I was with FactSet Research, and they're a software company, and they have the most amazing programmers. And anyone who's not a programmer in the company has no idea what they do. And the company wants those programmers to be innovative, but not just the programmers. They want everybody to be innovative. They want a culture of innovation so that those programmers feel that they're like in this lively place and they do more cool stuff. How do you get them together? So on Socialcast, they had something called a hackathon. I spoke about this last time, but basically, it's overnight you give the programmers a lot of Mountain Dew and coffee and pizza, and let them decide what they want to do, kind of a Google type of thing. Let them figure out what innovations they'd like to try out, and then who votes on it. The rest of the company. And the rest of the company is watching this as it's happening. And they're all posting messages, ooh, I just had this breakthrough. And the rest of the company is learning what it's like to be a programmer, and they're getting excited about the innovation. That's the kind of culture change I think you can do with the social media, more so than just, okay, here's the policy, or here's the strategy coming down.
Adam, what's your thought on rating content as part of social learning? The learners can actually go in and rate their courses online and make comments and reviews, just like you would review products.
Well, so you're talking about two different things, rating and reviews, right? So reviews is something where you're adding something to the conversation. You're saying something about what's happening, whereas the rating is just like the likes, you're just clicking it. But where's that information coming from? We tried to do it at Nielsen, where we have this portal. We wanted to get people involved with the courses, and of course they were going to be so excited about the course, they're going to like it and rate it. And no, they're not going to do that. They've got to get back to work. So I think it's a nice idea. I think I'd rather just see a conversation go on. Yes.
With regard to learning as a point of need situation, do we need assessments anymore?
See, I think that the assessment is still important. Because we still need to track training. You still need to show something for the money that the company has spent on it. You still need to show that you moved the needle somewhere. But maybe we should break it up and not have the assessments part of the training. I actually just wrote a blog post about this, so it's on there, called the Flipped LMS. So just like the flipped classroom where they do the homework in the class and they get the lecture on video at night, with the LMS, what if you broke up the assessment from the content and only had the assessment in the LMS, where the LMS is good at that, tracking whether you know what you're doing via an assessment, but let them go out and find the learning whichever way they want. And inside the assessment, say, this is how you would learn how to pass this assessment, and with links out to the content. So you're not trying to control the content. You're just controlling the completion. Yes?
So the elements that you talked about, like a leaderboard,
Mm-hmm.
so without the specialized, sometimes expensive software, how would you do that?
That's a tough one. The leaderboard comes with Yammer, but so if you're going to have that infrastructure in your company, then it would come with it, and you could make use of it. I'm sure that I don't know. Does SharePoint have things like that? Yeah. So there's already tools in your company that might have this. Sure. Oh, always find the free stuff first.
Speaking of free stuff, there's a lot of good stuff like TED lectures.
Mm-hmm.
You can get free courses you can download from Yale, Harvard, edX. Yeah, edX. Anything that you see or recommend or thoughts in that area?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of that stuff. Again, like the Coursera's, and I think are too long. My ADD, I like the TED Talks because it's nice and fast. We were in that presentation with Elliot Macy where he talked about TED Ed, where you can take any content and add components to it and make it available to your students, which look kind of interesting. TED Ed, it's a part of TEDx, the TED Talks, but it's the ability for people to go in and create their own learning using the videos as a basis. Anyone else? Sure.
So how do you feel about the audience that wants the option to take the assessment and have the opportunity to test out so they don't have to take the field?
I once taught a class, and this guy sat in the back of the class like this. And I was like, okay, what do you want? He goes, I just want the manual. So I walked over, grabbed the manual, handed it to him, said, see you later. The thing is that if people know the material enough to take the pretest and test out, then they don't need the learning. Let them go. Right? Okay. And then create more challenging learning. Remember the flow part, right? They were in that easy part. You need to get them up to the harder part. Yeah.
Are you in favor of pre and post tests as part of leveling where the learners are, either before the content's designed and developed, or perhaps after as it's repurposed?
Yeah, I'm really into not wasting people's time. Nothing I hate more than the e-learning where the pages are timed. You can't get to the next page. That makes me completely nuts. These are learners. We are all learners, human beings. We are going to go and learn whether you like it or not. Let's get out of their way. Right? So if a pretest can get them out of there, if they don't need the training, get them out of there. Don't waste their time. The other thing is that those pretests, you can then start pulling data from that and saying, oh, well, how many people actually did have that stuff? What kinds of questions were harder and easier and so on? Anyone else?
What are the subjects that you feel really should be taught, still in an in-person traditional classroom? Or what kind of learning do you think really lends itself to that versus all of these?
Well, I think there's topics, but there's also scale. I think that getting people into a classroom is expensive and hard, and I think that you need to really have a razor focus. Anything that doesn't need to be in that classroom shouldn't be in the classroom. So if you need to give people a whole bunch of information before the class starts, give it to them online before the class starts. But as far as topics, it's how to be a human being, right? It's it's the stuff that computers can't do. Let's make the computers do what they're good at and get that done, and then take the stuff that only humans can do and get them in a classroom. Do what we're doing here, because yeah, I could have just sent you guys the Facebook page, right? And you would have gotten the information fine, but I think you needed me to kind of have some fun with the idea and have this great conversation that we've been having. It's doing the human thing. Anyone else? Okay, so this was a great conversation, and I'm so glad that I came here and shared this with you, and I'm so glad you shared it with me. Please keep in touch through that Facebook page, and have a great rest of the night.
Thank you, Adam. That was fabulous. Fabulous. In the years that I've known you, you've only gotten better. So, and we spent. You talk about the collaborative, supportive, emotional side. I'm a flaming F, and I don't mean it that way. Oh my God, it's on video. James. Yeah. James is going to post it for us. A special shout out to Discover Video, because they record every single one of these sessions, and they do it. Yes. And for those of you who are out there, if you didn't get it the first time, Discover Video archives it, and you can go there later. For those of you who want to see this again, you can go back to Discover Video, and their technology can set it up so they can stream to multiple locations. So you can see how hard I've had to work to get this recorded. So you get that opportunity too. A couple of things as we wrap up. So there is a raffle for a book from our sponsor of the night. And there's also a raffle for a free meeting. So if you thought this was good, you got to put your card in for the next meeting. So Michelle, our erstwhile support, and Elena. Elena's got the sponsor raffle, and Michelle's got the meeting raffle. So if you have a card, drop it in. If you don't have a card, borrow a card, cross out the name, and put your name on it. Comment was that? An F. I can get away with it, maybe. All right. Now, after we do the drawings, our sponsor has books that she will sign, she will sell, she will talk to you. She'll do all those types of things that you have more questions, and I know we talked about chocolate a lot tonight. So there's more to life, and we ate chocolate. I've got to tell you, this is the only place where you will find desserts coordinated to the program. Having said that, please fill out your evaluations. And because we care deeply about what you think. We sent you a survey in the spring to hear what you think. These are ways that we shape what we do to meet your needs. So, has everybody turned in their meeting? Okay. So this is for the meeting request, the free meeting. I will tell you my card is not in here. Ha! Maria. You get a free meeting. Okay. Maria, you don't have your card in here for a free book, do you? Okay. Oh, well, we're happy you're going to come back. Karen Kirkner. The person who is one of the people who are hosting our coaching community of practice on the 28th, 9 a.m. So if you want to be a winner, you have to find a winner. Go find Karen. So that pretty much wraps me up for tonight. Anything else? Okay, then I will see you all on November 17th at the... yes, people are filling out evaluations? Yes. And the book signing. You notice how good my board is? So we've had a number of people who registered today. Thank you for coming. It works really well when we had 15 people register today. So that makes it hard in at Norwalk to make sure that we get enough food to feed everybody. We keep coming back here because they take wonderful care of us. And so just know that when you've put together a party and you have 15 people who show up at the last minute and you have enough food, it's a good thing. But we don't have to try and stretch it out all the time. Anything? Oh, I have to talk about the 17th. You see how good feedback and coaching is? And this is virtual. This is a collaborative environment. On the 17th, I just want to reiterate what Elena was talking about, and that is we have a networking meeting that it will be excellent. There'll be a small fee to come, and we'll have 10 vendors, so it's both networking and learning about the best practice in our industry. So we'll have 10 vendors who will come. They'll talk about their business. You'll talk to them informally. You'll be a collaborative, comfortable night where you can find out what you want and the best way that you can learn it. It won't necessarily be a wiki. Thank you for coming tonight. We'll see you on the 17th, and it's been fabulous. Thank you.